welcome, everyone. Thrilled to have all of you here. We wanted to pull a group together, some of you who have been around since the beginning of GodLight, just to really kind of highlight what's been going on. There's been a lot of excitement over the past year or so. And also today we'll be launching the GodLight Center and talking a little more about GodLight journeys. So we want to try to share a lot of information for the first 30 minutes or so, because a few people do need to drop at the bottom of the hour. We are recording the call, so we'll send out the full recording later. But if you don't mind to hold any questions to the end, that would be great, unless it's something pressing, that we need to take a pause and answer. But I will turn it right over to Bart to give some highlights of 2024.
Well, thanks, Karen, Ms. President of the GodLight Foundation and my daughter. Thank you all for joining us this evening. As most of you know, the book, GodLight Possibilities from the Intersection of Science and Spirituality, was published 3 years ago and has done quite well. It was an original Amazon bestseller. Hundreds of copies have been purchased, and it's still available in paperback and Kindle form. Since then, a wonderful GodLight Foundation team, Karen, Carl, Olivia, and others, have created a very friendly GodLight website. And if you don't know what it is, it's GodLight site, small letters, godlightsite.com. And we posted lots of webinars, articles, blogs, and announcements on that. So it is always a way of keeping in touch with what we're doing and also what we're planning to do. So if you can or are interested, go to that site for our main connection with the rest of the world. We also have a significant Facebook group, a couple hundred people, a separate Facebook GodLight group site, where we post beautiful pictures of light, natural light, sunsets, sunrises, which were really the instigation for me writing the book in the first place. But I find that if you have a beautiful sunset or something like that, people just love it. There's something about that really inspires people. We also have a LinkedIn post site with hundreds of followers in each of those. We've also been featured at 3 national book fairs, nice places, Los Angeles, Miami, and we've done dozens of interviews at those book fairs. It's a great place to showcase a book. Some books were purchased, but the most important thing is that you get to talk to people, and the interviews are published all over the world, for that matter. I've done about 20 interviews because of the book fairs, and it's been fun. Some of the folks who host those are fascinating characters, and they're tough sometimes on the interview. But if those are posted, some of them anyways, are posted on our website. We've also created a Udemy course. Some of you are aware of that, and others may not be. Udemy is a very powerful way of trying to get books translated into not so much language, but in bite-sized chunks, and they're offered as a lecture course. And we have one called GodLight, and about 1,000 people have seen that. So that's great too. In April, now 2024, we went to the Madrid World Conference on Religions and presented the paper. We had a great little team, most of whom are presenting today. Olivia was also part of the team. And we actually met Sister Mary Amelia, who I believe is on the call, or at least see the recording of this. Had a great friendship started with her. And the really exciting thing is that in late March of this year, we will have the first international GodLight conference in Nigeria. Hundreds have already registered. It'll be a live and virtual conference. So those of you who would like to attend the conference, some of you might be speakers there as well. Please check out our website to see if you'd like to present something. There are already plenty of presenters, so we may not be able to include you, but you can certainly listen to it. It'll be virtual for those of you not in Nigeria. But Sister Mary Amelia will chair the conference, and she's done a wonderful job organizing it and getting people to understand what GodLight can possibly do to many, many areas of interest. Most relevant for tonight, though, as Karen said, is the launching of the GodLight Center website and the GodLight Journey program. Kelly Ritchie and Martin Timoney, who are on this call, will be talking later. And those two, plus Kyle Gardner, helped a heck of a lot with this too. Have developed the site, the website, and the program over the past few months. Most people that I meet are kind of captured by the possibility of Godlight, and maybe more so that what Godlight can bring to the world in terms of peaceful collaborations and just understanding each other and being nice to each other. And while believing in practice and being in the light can help, actually being the light, a proper noun term, being the light is the key. I think if all of us could be the light, and I'm certainly not there yet, but all of us could be closer to being the light, it would really be wonderful. We believe that taking the GodLight journey is the best way for anyone to transform themselves to be in the light. And without further ado, I'm going to pass this on to Kelly, who'll tell you more about both the site as well as the GodLight journey. Thank you.
Beautiful. Welcome. This has been a wonderful gift to be able to be involved in this team. In the GodLight conversation, I would like to share one, why it's important and what sets it apart from other conversations. And I was surprised over the holidays. One of the biggest things that I heard everybody say was as they got together with friends or got together with family, all that they weren't going to talk about. and I thought, there's 7 questions that make up the GodLight conversation, and I have found these questions to be permeable against boundaries that we face. And I want to go through the questions really quick, show you the website. And I was paired with Martin, who trained me to be a beacon. And as I first was introduced to him, I've been through a lot of coach trainings, and I thought, what sets this apart? I was still trying to catch up with everybody because I came in a little bit later in the game. And I was surprised by what I discovered. So I look forward to sharing this in a succinct way. So the 7 conversations, and I'll share my screen with you. Okay. Mm-hmm. So this is the GodLight Center, and you may have visited this. And so I'm going to talk about the GodLight Journey. And I was a light seeker. I came to find that is in this training that I was a light seeker and then trained to become a beacon who can deliver the GodLight conversations. And you look at the journey, you can, as you want to explore this in the future, there's 7 principles, 4 practices, and 5 conversations. And you can find so much information here. So I will put this back, and I can go back to this in a minute so we can see each other. So the GodLight conversation has 7 questions. Connection, understanding, and respect. And I found that when Martin was taking me through these questions, and I wanted to pull the questions apart because it talked about connection with myself and then with others. And I found that in a lot of these questions, I'm connected, but I really was failing at connecting with others. Then understanding. How can I connect with someone if I can't understand them? And respect. Again, over the Christmas holidays and Thanksgiving, if we can find that conversation to have. So in building respect, I found that those 3 first questions were really a cornerstone for me. And out of that, the next 3 questions are around mutuality, inner peace, and collaboration. It's difficult to experience mutuality when there's division. And so by truly looking at building a connection and gaining understanding and respect, mutuality is possible, inner peace is possible. And now that Bart actually is a grandfather several times again here in the recent past,
Great grandfather.
As far as I'm concerned, he's the grandfather of collaboration. And what he did in writing this book and bringing this team together of people that are all very different, I've been able to experience the collaboration. I've been able to be taken by surprise in the GodLight conversation and journey. And, you know, it's easy to think that maybe we have light to bring to the world, but through this conversation, it really brought that light out of me. The last on the list of questions is compassion. And today, as I was reflecting on what I wanted to share, if I actually take the time to connect with someone and seek to understand and gain the ability to respect, mutuality, inner peace, and collaboration, I'm going to gain compassion, because that's a byproduct. Each one of these questions I found really led to the next step. So for those seeking to maybe find a way to deal with, you know, our world today, where I think we've lost a lot of connection, we've lost the ability to converse, the GodLight conversation has been a powerful tool. I started my first, I'm a musician, lifelong musician, touring artist, recording, and teacher. But in my desire to want to expand my offerings, 15 years ago I met Bart, and I was at a point of inflection. I wanted to redefine myself because I had been a guitar player, an artist, and I knew that there was more. And so when I became a purpose coach, I discovered that I had mistaken my talent for my purpose. That our purpose is what we do with our talent. And then as a writing facilitator, I found that a piece of paper always listens. And then finally, I did a 3-year program where I graduated in 2019 as a spiritual director. And that's where I learned how hard it was to listen. And so the GodLight conversation has also given me the platform by which I have a tool to where I can listen. And so these questions create the space for people to contemplate whatever it is that resonates in them, and to hold that space for a conversation and connection. So thank you for letting me share that. Martin, who you realize he's not from around here when he speaks, he's from Scotland, and it's been such an honor to be able to work with Martin in creating the website and bringing the GodLight conversation into an actual tool and platform that can be offered. And it's just been a wonderful experience, all of it. So thank you, Martin. I hand the stone to you.
Thank you ever so much. Let me tell you what started part of this journey. We were having a family meal, and my daughter said to me, "I think that I'm closer to God than you." And of course I thought, well, how do you know that? And doesn't it have us thinking about what are the mechanisms for determining how close you are to something? Now, I come from a human behavior background, and we talk about the core dimensions of thoughts, feelings, emotions, and the alignment of the behavior and the language that comes alongside that. So from the Richter scale method, and that's what I'm involved in, we've brought that to the GodLight Center. And the idea being that we have a platform that allows someone to go through a process that's called self-quantification. And the idea is that you're able to measure in your own thoughts and ideas about where you are now and where you're trying to get to on, in this particular case, your GodLight journey. And the amazing, incredible thing here is that it comes down to one word, actually. It comes down to one word, and that one word is articulation. And the premise is that we already hold the resources inside, but it's how do we externalize? How do we share that connection with the external world? How do we have those conversations? Now, we know that all over the world, people are having conversations about God. We know that people are having God-like conversations wherever we are in the world. But what we aim to do at the GodLight Center is to measure the impact of those conversations to try to determine through data what conversations are being had, what's the extent of those conversations. So we use a scale of 0 to 10, and 10 being, for example, I am close to, or I am not so close. But the idea being that it enables structured dialogue for every individual to have one universal language, universal methodology in order to have these conversations. And then we can do data analysis and to discover, to determine the types of conversation that's being had and the idea of understanding where someone is on their journey to being the light or towards what we're calling, of course, is GodLight. So it's been hugely exciting, actually, to be part of setting up the GodLight Center, to do the deconstruct and to find those 7 principles and to find the 4 practices of GodLight. And of course, as Kelly had said, we've got 5 conversations happening within that. But it is super exciting that it's enabling that, this is my last point, it's enabling individuals to have intimate but structured conversation about how they feel about where they are on their journey within GodLight. And it's pretty profound for some people that couldn't have that conversation in the past. And we know through our studies that we're able to have wonderful in-depth conversations, but keep it on point.
That's wonderful, Martin.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Martin. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So I think you all can see why I would have enjoyed working with him in this project.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful. Yeah.
Wait, we don't care what Martin says. We just want to
We
hear
just want to hear him talk.
We just like his voice and his accent. No, we love what you say too,
We
Martin.
love what you say.
Wonderful. At some point, we can share with you what the platform looks like to have that GodLight conversation, because we've got the website, but we've also got the digital platform where you can use what we call the GodLight conversation, the journey board with the 7 questions on it in a digital format where you're able to, in fact, Kelly, I'll quickly share this just now, just so that people can see the context, if we're okay with that.
Yeah. You
This-
should have permission.
Yes,
Yeah,
please.
this is what the GodLight platform journey board looks like. And as Kelly mentioned, you've got the words down the left-hand side. We call them the themes. And this is a GodLight frame of reference. And basically what happens is we ask that first question and we've got a definition with the question. But the idea being that when we have a conversation with a light seeker, they're trying to determine their baseline. In terms of the question, where am I now? And the idea being that they can move. So if we ask the question, how deeply do you sense a spiritual connection to yourself and with the universe? That's such a huge question, but it gives them the possibility, the opportunity to set their baseline. And they might say, at this point in time, I'm saying a 2. It could be more than that or less than that. And the idea that once you get through those 7 questions, you can say, what's on your mind here? What have you been thinking about? Has it been lower than a 2? Has it been higher than a 2? How does that make you feel? There's a whole structure of questions within that that's called the centerline process. And the idea being is we're asking people, where would you like it to be? So anyone in their GodLight journey can determine that in a subject matter, I started a low 2, but I want to be a 7. And the idea we're saying within the 2 and the 7, what resources can we find? What can I do to support you? What can you do? What can we do together to action those points to help you to get to where you want to go? My last point on that is we're not pushing people to become a 10. We're asking people to take ownership of the value and to really take ownership of their conversation that allows this journey board as an opportunity to self-reflect and to articulate those thoughts and feelings with their external world. So that's the
Martin,
idea. Yeah.
could you show the heartbeat? I love the heartbeat. Is it working?
The heartbeat should sit here. The heartbeat's not on this journey board, but the
Oh,
heartbeat's
there you
there.
go.
Yeah. It's just the system that I'm on. I'm not in the live system. This is only the demo system.
Got
But
it.
the heartbeat sits there. And in the UK, we've spent a lot of time looking at heart-brain coherence, heart rate variability. And the idea is this. I don't know if can you hear the heartbeat just now?
Maybe. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there's a heartbeat. There's a heartbeat on at the minute. If I put my mouse onto what's called the anchor stack,
Yeah.
you should be able to hear a heartbeat. And the idea being, and again I'll be brief, but the idea being is that when someone has a profound breakthrough in their own mind, and they think to themselves at a very conscious level, oh, I didn't realize that about me. They can put their finger on that heartbeat and lock in that memory. The idea being that it's the anchor, and the idea that it's a recall button. I call it the sanctuary of well-being, but the idea that they can put their finger on that at a later time and recall the feelings that was associated with that conversation. And there's lots of prompts within that to enable that to take place. And the real power of that is if someone becomes stuck in the conversation, you can say, do you remember our last conversation? You were talking about your aha moment. Put your finger onto the heart and the heartbeat, and let's recall that emotion. Let's recall that feeling. Let's recall that experience that was there for you. And the idea is it prompts someone to move along. We've been doing, my last point, we've been doing studies on this. Now, Richter scale has been in existence for 30 years. It's been in 25 countries around the world. It's engaged more than 2 million individuals, having lots of different conversations. But now we've mastered the idea of let's have structured dialogue. Let's have God-like conversations. Let's get this around the world and have light seekers and beacons having that dialogue. The power to allow people to articulate, because if you can articulate, you can replicate.
I love that. I asked about the heartbeat because, like Kelly and Martin, Bart and I, Carl, Olivia have been through this process, and it is very, very eye-opening, like any sort of self-development or coaching that people have been through. It really helps you to reflect. And how Kelly talked about the 7 different themes, and how she kind of grouped them into 3 and 3, and then the final one. It's the same idea, but unique to each individual. Where, I know Bart and I during our sessions had some breakthroughs that, oh, this might have been maybe a blind spot for me, and an opportunity to really grow much closer to being the light and set some very realistic goals and actions for myself. So thank you, Martin, for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And let me just comment, Karen and I did do it. And of course, we know each other pretty well, although we found out that we didn't know each other as well as we thought. And when we thought about being light seekers, we weren't thinking about being beacons, who are the people that help the light seekers. But it happened very quickly that there's so much power in this journey, particularly with the ability to measure and feel, how the progress is being made. That we want to be beacons. We will be beacons, but right now we're not talking about that. The beacons are just people who are like the teachers or the guides, and the light seekers are the people who want that. One more thing. One of the things that I mentioned this earlier, that I really believe could make a difference in the world is not so much people reading the book or really understanding the science. So that's not the important point. To me, the important point is for all of us to try to move in the direction of being the light. For all of my life, I've been doing, and I suspect most of you have been doing too. And that's what we generally occupy our time with. But, this is a whole other conversation. But being is really being, okay, that you are the light. And I absolutely believe that we all are the light, every one of us. Okay, not only nice people or good people or people in America. What we all are the light, and but we don't be it. Okay, we don't become it or actually act like that. It sounds so easy. Let's go towards being the light versus becoming the light, but it's very hard because once you're being the light, you got to be the light, and that's what the GodLight journey is all about. So that was a great explanation, Martin and Kelly too. Back to Kelly.
That's wonderful. You know, whenever it can be overwhelming looking at the world and think, how can this one little light make a difference? But when you're in a pitch dark room and you light a candle, it makes a difference. So never underestimate the power of one. And also, when it comes to changing our world as opposed to the world, I think we take responsibility for making it our world as we embrace this light. So it's been a wonderful journey. It's been a real gift. And Sister Mary, I've gotten messages from her throughout, and I would have never met her without you all. And so it's just wonderful to see her on this call and to know that you're going to do that broadcast. She has been a real blessing.
And especially since it's the middle of the night for you,
Right.
Sister Mary Amelia.
Right.
Thank you for being
Okay.
here.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't see you, but I'm sure you're there.
She's trying to be the light, but it's
Yeah.
2:00 in the morning or something, maybe later. Same with Martin.
Anybody have any questions about anything? Alexander, I haven't seen you since this journey began.
Well, yeah, I've been here. So, and I've been in touch with Bart, and we've communicated. Just one thing I wanted to say, and it goes to, you know, the book, which is really the foundation for this. It's what sets it's the source of everything that we're doing. And this program, the Beacon program, the coaching program, that's really an application. It's a designed application for people to experience themselves as the light and to have that sense of growth as the light. From the point of view of the book itself, we cannot not ever be the light. You hold a baby, a newborn baby, and they just came into existence. In terms of accomplishment or achievement, they've done nothing. They just are, and they're just a shining little light. So we can use it as a metaphor, but from a physics point of view, you cannot not be that light all the time. That you have the experience of it as a specific result in your life, how you are with people, in your families, at work, or your neighbors, anybody. You know, whether you're more compassionate or have more inner peace, or, you know, the 7 principles that you were talking about, Kelly. Whether you mirror those, that's where the improvement can happen. But there's just no denial. Even a person stuck in the ruins of Gaza,
Alexander.
or in a broken down building in Ukraine. Those people, you know, you look at them and, you know, they're not happy campers.
It's true.
You know, concentration camps, people in prison, these aren't happy campers, and yet they do shine the light. Who's to say that, you know, we maybe who have done more things or accomplished more things, or, you know, maybe considered more things, done more personal growth, who's to say that we are more conscious or more light shining than they are? Because it just takes one little word from them, a little child that's starving who smiles or looks at you and recognizes, you know, you're there and I'm here and we're basically the same, and I'm the one that's starving. You know, someone from an immigrant, you know, one of our immigrants, you know, who doesn't know if they're going to be here tomorrow or not. And you look at them now, if you know, they're not shining a lot of light. They're going into some darkness. It's a scary period for them. And yet, even that darkness is a light. And I'm not being metaphorical here. I mean, from a physics point of view, they cannot not be that. And, I'll let Bart do the explanation for that. But from a physics point of view, you cannot not be it. Even from an ontological point of view, the perspective of being that you were talking about, Bart, before, you cannot not be that. Now, how you want to develop yourself in the ways that you are, that's what we're calling metaphorically how we shine our light, which is very important. And that's what the value of the program that Kelly was talking about, and Martin, that's the value of the program. But
Yeah.
it's going to.
I was going to say, someone referenced the fact that recently I've gotten 4 great grandchildren. I mean, within the last couple of years. And I really believe, and I've done a lot more research, not only into physics, but also into biology, that we all start as pure light. I mean, that little embryo that then grows into the baby, and then the baby grows as an infant. And there's all these things that happen during the course of that development, most of which is no, and you can't do this and that. Those people, are not like us. And I really think the program of GodLight Journey is actually trying to get back into ourselves, in that initial thing, just like you're saying, Alexander, that we all have it, it's all there. But, there's been so many things in life and you have to protect yourself and all that. And so we've sort of shrouded ourselves in a cloudy kind of a negative. I recently posted a picture of a black hole on Facebook, but around there are all the wonderful stars. And the black hole is just something interrupting those wonderful stars. It isn't that the stars go away. It just happened. It'll go away to the black hole. So I completely agree with you. And I think it's in us. That's the wonderful thing. If it wasn't in us, then we'd have to teach ourselves to do it. It's in us. And I think the GodLight Journey allows it to come out and come out in a very powerful way. That's why I love it. I did it and it changed my life tremendously. Yes. So Kelly, and then Kelly's actually asking if anybody has questions. So please don't let me interrupt.
Yes, I have a question.
Yes,
Yeah.
Sister Mary,
Yeah.
Amelia.
Yes. Really, I am learning more about GodLight. I am learning more about GodLight, and I wish my team here in Nigeria also learn about GodLight. Although Onyeka is trying to join, but he has poor internet connection.
Oh,
Yeah,
we'll get him the recording, no problem.
Yeah, right, don't worry. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make sure Onyeka gets
now,
that.
Okay, now I'm asking, how can I get the book?
The book?
GodLight.
Oh, the book.
Yes,
That's
for my team here in
For
Nigeria.
all of your
How
team. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I think we gave you a book in Spain, right? But we need more copies. We also have, does some of your team have Kindle by any chance?
You say have?
Do you have Kindle, like a platform to read the book? I don't think you might have that. But yes, I can follow up with you separately. We can probably have some books shipped there for you to pass out for your team.
Okay. Yeah, I need to give them so that they will know more about GodLight.
Sure.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And we have several other resources. So through the, we could share the website, the Facebook page. We have an app that is launching now. So I think, Sister Mary Amelia, does a lot of your team use an Apple phone or a Samsung phone? I think you had one when we met.
Yes.
Like an iPhone? Because I will make sure.
You do what?
Yeah.
I can send you the app, a link to the app, a link to the Facebook group. Well, I know you have the Facebook group because I see you commenting on there. But yes, we can get you a lot
Yes.
of resources. We're all learning how to spread GodLight around the world, to Nigeria, to Scotland with Martin, so far around the world in as simple of ways as possible electronically, right? So yes, we can
Okay.
certainly, we might need to figure out a different way other than Kindle to share the book electronically. Bart,
The Udemy course. Yeah.
Okay.
oh, the
Udemy
Udemy
course,
what I've
course.
been doing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you
Uh,
do have the
the one
Udemy course already? Yes.
The one I've been doing is Onyeka is doing it perfectly well. He goes to Dr. Bart's Facebook page, copies his reflection, his reflections,
Okay.
and then we now paste it in the team's page.
Oh, that's great.
So yeah, that's what Onyeka has been doing. That he will go to his page, copy his reflection, and paste in the group's page.
Oh, great. Wonderful.
And I'll send some more resources for you because that's something, you know, I always forget we don't have Amazon around the entire globe. Like I can't just quickly send you a bunch of books, but there is a way to do it. So we'll make sure that we get you some physical books, but also some online resources as well.
Imagine
Okay.
this. Imagine this idea. Imagine this idea, which is not an idea because it's actually working. But imagine the idea that the GodLight Center can go to Sister Mary Amelia in Nigeria and look on the system and see how many GodLight conversations, how many Lightseekers have been onboarded onto the system. You can look at Scotland and see how many conversations that Martin's having with the Lightseekers to see where they are on their journey and where they're trying to get to, and the resources and the actions. We can look in a global capacity to find out who's having what GodLight conversations across the world. That's the power that we've got in our hands, that if we roll out this eventually, and we'll get out to Nigeria because it's based on the cloud, so anybody can access it. But the idea being that we can see the impact of the GodLight conversations that people are having and taking ownership of their own situation and determining where they are on their GodLight journey. It's powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. Kelly, I don't know if you're going to mention this, but we're just sort of introducing the people that are on this this call to the concept and the GodLight Center website and the GodLight Journey. And we have a lot more information on it if anybody wants more. And we also are willing to have a conversation. I think, Kelly, you were going to mention that as well, right?
Yes, anybody that's on this call that's interested in having a GodLight conversation, you can go, well, you can just email me back because you probably have received an email from me during this. If not, we'll make sure that you get it when we send you the recording. If you're interested in having that, I would be glad to take anyone through that. So I believe Emily has her hand up.
I just wanted to share a couple comments and then see if you may be able to comment, Bart, on the GodLight concept. One thing that stood out to me from the book that really got me hooked was your approach to looking at the intersectionality of religion from the position of your own personal story, which I found to be quite compelling, and your experience as a Catholic all these years. And yet you took a step back to look at some particular aspects of other religious faiths in looking at this concept of what I think is pretty profound in the interconnectivity of, separate from religion, this notion that there could be a perpetuity, an eternity to our existence and our connectivity to that eternity in the form of light, and you go into the science of all that, which is also very compelling. So I thought maybe if you could comment briefly on that intersectionality approach, and then looking at the interconnectivity that we share with being the light. That there's this, when we say being the light, it's not a notional, and I think in your mind, but that's why I'm asking perhaps for you to elaborate, this notional concept that we can just be a good person or be kind and be evolving as our personal development grows and our spiritual capacity grows.
No, you're right, Emily. I of course, I haven't stopped researching in the last 3 years, so the book is old. As far as I'm concerned, I probably should write
a 2.0, huh?
Part 2, right? Yeah, Captain America Part 2 or something like that. But honest to goodness, the research has got me even more convinced that it's fundamentally the same. The light from God that created the universe, and I won't go into the physics of it all, is really the light that we all have in us. After all, if God created the universe with light, we are part of the universe. I mean, and to Alexander's point, we have the light in us. I mean, it wouldn't have happened otherwise. There's so much more now that we know about the physics of the of the universe, and it's all about light. As far as spirituality, I've been a Christian all my life, Catholic actually, but I've known so many great Hindu and practitioners and Islamic practitioners and Jewish practitioners. And, as soon as I say light, they nod. It doesn't even, it's almost a knee-jerk reaction. Yes, God is light. God is light. And to the point of, why did I write this book when there's so many wonderful religions, and the religions are trying so hard, to make us be the light and see the light. I think the problem is that they all kind of drop down one notch from God to the book or something. And what I tried to do is go higher than that. I mean, we all know that God is not an old man sitting on the throne. We all know that, it's not something, 12 elephants on top of each other. We all know that, okay? We kind of ignore that a little bit and say, well, I'm not worried about that. That's too complicated. So my point about the book was it's not complicated. It actually may be even simpler than it is to explain religion. Because if you truly believe that God is light, and I do, I will write this second book because there's just too much more evidence coming up with new discoveries from physics and nuclear physics and cosmology, as well as the DNA activity that's going on. I wrote the other day that there's a lot of evidence that at the conception of a human being, light is emitted. And at the death of a human being, and I can't say anything about this, but there's a lot of indication that light is there too. So, I mean, without getting on the platform of the God is light, it's just too much for me to ignore. And otherwise, I would have just never written the book. But you're right, the confluence, and you and I have worked many years at trying to get people to remove the paradigms and at least look at the problem from a new perspective. And I think we're all kind of stuck in our own paradigm. I am too. I mean, there's no question about it. Sometimes it's hard for me to separate Catholicism from GodLight, but I can. And then once I'm in the GodLight stream, I can be so much more collaborative with people who will argue with me about everything that I believe in Christianity. So yeah, it is a lead. And I think the GodLight Journey, another plug for anybody doing it. And I have to say this right now, don't be afraid to call Kelly or me or anybody and say, what's more about this? It's not going to be negative. It's not, we're not going to try to trap you or get money from you. This is really an exploration of how we can get the whole world to do this. So believe me, we're going to be very non-pushy, I guess is the best way I can say it. But I do think that it's the only way to kind of go above the barriers that we have set up amongst ourselves for the last 3,000 years. Over.
That's great, Bart. Thank you so much. I agree. I think there's so much opportunity in going to a higher level and looking for the intersectionality of non-dogmatic barrier
Yes.
pathways to be able to communicate and connect with people. I think that because we share this interconnectivity to the light, it's something that unifies us all. And so I'm very excited to hear that you're pursuing perhaps a 2.0 and also this concept of unification. It's very powerful. Thank you.
Thank you, Emily.
Thanks, Emily. It looks like Richard has a question.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, to me, love is synonymous with light. And I do a guided meditation every week in my group. And we bring in the light through our crown chakra and into our hearts. And then we send that light out into healing for others. So I think love is a big part of that too. And also on the group, I think it'd be good if you guys had like a monthly meeting, a Zoom meeting or so, just to get, us together, because, you don't learn as much doing it on your own as you do with a group.
Absolutely.
It would be good to connect with everybody, a little bit, maybe once every 2 months or whatever.
Absolutely. And your friend Carl, who is one of our closest friends here, would love to set that up.
Well, me and Carl work it out when he comes and visits. We have our own little connection there, so
Sure.
it's very uplifting. Yeah.
I was going to make a comment on love. It seems to me that what love really is an opening to the other person, in many cases between two lovers, the opening to God between us and God. And then the light comes through. In a way, unfortunately, not loving closes the barriers, pulls the shade, so to speak, from a metaphorical standpoint. Then the light can't get through. I often thought that when you're really in love, like when you're in love versus love, there is this magic that occurs that you can't even explain. Now, the chemistry of the body does change, but it is something which opens the mind up to other thoughts. And that's why if your spouse says something you don't like, you don't kid her. You go, oh, I understand. I'm open to what you're saying. So,
yeah, love is like an invitation to light, I think.
Yeah.
Because, when you look at others and you say, I love you,
yes,
you're actually opening them up to light in yourself and them.
Yeah.
A
The
key
fascinating thing
term,
about
a key term that we've got at the bottom of this is we're talking about universal love. And that's, of course, as part of the conversation and the principles and the practices, then we're really talking about universal love.
Right.
Absolutely. That's a big goal. But on the other hand, it has to start someplace. It has to start with us being open to it. I have actually practiced trying to be the light. I'm not there. Okay, let me explain it. But when I meet somebody for the first time, I kind of pause and I look at them in the eyes, and even if it's a casual conversation, and I try to open up a connectivity between me and that other person. And it could be just somebody sitting next to me at a table or something. And it actually changes the conversation. Now, they may be pulling away in a different direction, but it's love in a very universal way. And it's also an opening for the light then to be the conversation, as opposed to the differences of the dark to be the conversation. So.
And it's building a connection,
Yeah.
We've really lost the ability to connect with each other. I mean, not totally, and many people still do, but I mean, it's something that the world is suffering from, and the phrase, let there be light. It doesn't say go create light. Get out of the way. Let there be light. How can we remove those barriers so that light, because it dispels, the fear that is.
One way of looking at some of this is, we're talking about science and religion or philosophy. There was a time when none of that existed. There were no distinctions for that. Right. So, indigenous peoples living still today in the middle of a jungle, they don't have those distinctions. Saying God is light as a scientist is already a category that you have to defend. I have to defend evidence for that. If you say it as a philosopher, or if you say it as a spiritual teacher or as a religious teacher, you have to, what's the basis for what you're saying?
Mm.
And there's that place where there is no basis for it that we all have.
Yeah.
It's the same as, holding the baby in your hand for the first time.
Yeah.
There is no science. It's not a reasoning process as in logic or evidence. And it's not even a belief as in someone told me that this, that God exists or that light is God, or, it's not even a belief in that sense. There's something, and all of those sciences and religions and philosophies were created and invented on top of that. So if we get underneath it and we're just being in it, then it's a different world there. We have a whole different perspective. And I think that's where we need to go. And a lot of the ways that we have of talking about covers it up.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's called a conversation. Yeah. And I mean, until we have the conversation, that is founded on GodLight, we'll always kind of get in the way of each other, even though there's beyond that, there's something that we both agree with or both believe in. So I back to the GodLight Journey, those conversations that Kelly was mentioning, and also the metric process, the Richter process that Martin has really adapted to the GodLight Journey, is a powerful way to get into that. Otherwise, just going up to somebody on the street and say, let's talk about God, is not going to probably get the job done. But if the conversations open up your inner feeling and your inner goals, then it's really marvelous. I've tried to do it all by myself, and believe me, it doesn't work as well as if you have a guide or a coach, somebody that really will nudge you one way or the other. Nudging is probably the better word for us to use. We're not trying to convert anybody here, so nudging.
As a lifelong musician, as a guitarist, you have to practice to play an instrument.
Yeah.
You may have talent,
Right.
a lot of people, when they would see me play, they're like, "Oh, you're so talented." It's like, well, I did have a level of talent, but I just didn't pick up a guitar and practice. I had to learn, and I had to practice, but I also had to tune my guitar.
Sure.
It doesn't matter how good you are if you're not in tune.
Yeah.
Good. And it's, these conversations help us tune our own perspective and then play well with others. You can't, you can have the greatest band members in the world, and if the bass player's not in tune with the guitar player and the piano, then you're not going to have music. So, really what the world needs now is to be able to have some commonality, some connection, some entrainment, and so that's something that I think that this conversation offers as a tool. At least it has for me.
It's a wonderful example and metaphor, Kelly, because light is frequency and wavelength. So is music. So is sound. And in a way, we've got to get in tune from a light standpoint as well as from a sound standpoint. And that's why I think we're off, because the world is not heading in the right direction. We keep making up new wavelengths and new frequencies that are sort of contrary to whatever exists. So I love that. We have to get in tune. We have to get to be in the light, and quickly. Yeah.
I've often said to people, if God were the guitar tuner, it doesn't matter what kind of music you play. If it's country, jazz, punk rock, heavy metal, blues, if God were the tuner, that's the place in which you can tune the instrument, and from there, whatever kind of music you want to play, that's a personal journey. Emily.
Well, I was just going to chime in. That kind of leads me to wonder then, because I heard you, Bart, just say, and we need to get in tune quickly.
Yeah.
So it led me to put my little project manager hat on and to ask the question. So what is the goal of GodLight beyond harmony and the kind of the big picture of uniting and unifying people? What would you like to see as GodLight, this team? What is the goal of GodLight?
Well, I'm modest usually in some of my goals and extreme in the other ones. All right, I do want to see the whole world come together. That's the big picture. But I would like to see more conversations about the unity that we have, about the agreement that we have. Instead of starting, and I'm not picking on any religion here, with Hinduism and Islam and Christianity, let's start with, we all believe in God. And can we get to that level? And as Alexander said, we're all part of that level too. So that's the big goal. But frankly, in the beginning, I would just like to have to hope that people have conversations with each other, which tend to be collaborative versus divergent. And there's nothing wrong with divergence. You and I have worked hard on that too. But there's so much divergence that now, people start off with this is what I believe in, and you better believe in that, or else you're going to hell, something like that. So that is not a good way to form that. I'm kind of hoping that it's collaborative innovation in a disguise here, Emily, and you and I know what that means. That GodLight can move towards. That's my goal.
Thank you. Now, I'm Buddhist as a practitioner, and you didn't mention Buddhism, Bart, but that's okay. And that's all right,
it's in the
because
book.
in Buddhism, oh, I know. But in Buddhism, there isn't really a general God-like theme. And so I feel advanced almost because I'm beyond that already.
Yes. Your inner life.
But
yeah.
I mean that in a genuine sense, that
I know.
at the level of light, the Buddhist practice that I do partake of, we actually call it Buddhism of the sun.
Yes.
So it's all about the light. And that's
Yep.
what drew me and was so compelled to get involved and to really dive into your book and really explore what you were doing there. So thank you for that, for your goal.
I thank
thank
you
you,
for most
Emily,
of
because I wanted. Buddhism is such an important religion, or philosophy rather, and the inner light that Buddhists believe in. I think this is true. Is really where we have to move towards. I mean, some of us have moved away from that. So absolutely.
I think I was saying before most of you joined, I'm in a Bible study, and we actually read a book called The Book of Joy that was co-written by the Dalai Lama and by Archbishop Desmond Tutu of the Anglican religion. And it reminded me a lot of what I think Bart is trying to do with GodLight, which was saying we all are alike. We have more similarity than differences. And if we all have joy, we can be as one and collaborate. And it just reminded me a lot of, if we all believe in the light, whatever that means to each of us, and if we can all be the light and be the light together, then we can grow through this peace and collaboration. So I kind of use that analogy. And I do see we're right at the top of the hour. Bart, any quick closing comments? Or
Well, no closing comments, but I want to repeat what Kelly said, and I think you said, Karen. Please don't be hesitant if you want to know more about this. Write to Kelly, or if you prefer to me, and we'll get everybody involved in this too. We're not pushing this; we're just offering this. So don't feel hesitant to have another conversation with us. Thank you.
I'd like to say thank you and for inviting me, and I enjoyed the conversation.
Great.
thank you, everyone, for joining. And I
Rich.
love this suggestion, Richard. We'll be setting up some ongoing calls. We'll be sending out some
Good.
follow-up information, including the recording. So I look forward to seeing all of you and more again soon.
All right.
Thank you, Bart.
Thank you
Good
all.
to see you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.